Bonjour, and welcome to French 1 with Mr. McCoy. This is Lesson 9, dedicated to the French subject pronouns. And my goal for this lesson is for you at the end of the lesson to be able to identify the subject pronouns we'll be using in French, and also to be able to compare those to the subject pronouns that we have in English. Okay? So before I show you those forms, I feel a bit of explaining to do, and just to kind of follow along. Okay, try to keep this short and sweet. Okay, so anytime we have the production of language, whether it be in speech or in writing, okay, it follows that there has to be a source, an author, somebody producing that speech or that writing. So let's take speech as our example. Okay, let's say we have our speaker here. Okay, and he's saying something. Okay, now, either implied or in reality, he has an audience, somebody to whom he's speaking, okay? And he could also be, in his speech act, talking about other people, okay? Now, I want you to get kind of familiar with these couple of terms that I'm going to use, okay? Now, if in his speech act, okay, if our speaker is referring back to himself, okay, the person who's producing the speech, he's referring to himself. We refer to that as the first person. Okay, he's the source, and the actual topic, okay, to whom he's referring is back to himself. We call that the first person. Now, if his speech act, if it has to do with his audience, we call that the second person. Okay, it obviously originates with this guy, and it refers to his audience. We call that the second person. Okay, because it's the first person and the second person. Now, our speaker and our audience, they're here, but he could be referring in his speech to somebody else, not himself, not his audience, but some other people. Okay, we call that the third person. Okay, so that gives us a first person, second person, and third person. Okay, I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay. First person when he refers back to himself. Second person if that speech act is referring to his audience. Third person if that speech act is referring to other people that are outside of this exchange. Okay, they're outside of this act of communication. Okay. Now, second part of that is that when this guy is producing a speech, refers back to himself, it could either be back to himself alone, or it could be referring back to himself as part of a group. Okay, so he could be, again, referring back to himself. We refer that to it as a singular. Okay, him alone, or him as a part of a group, like a family or a club. Okay, if he's referring to him and a group that he belongs to, we refer that as the plural. Okay, so he's just talking about himself. That's singular. Okay, he's referring back to a group, okay, to which he belongs, that's plural. Okay, so it's singular or plural, first person singular or plural. Now, again, referring to his audience, second person, again, that could be referring to one person, okay, that'd be singular, or some group, that will be plural. Okay, so second person singular and plural. And finally, when that speech act refers to not himself, the speaker, not the audience, but other people, again, it could either be one person, just one person, singular, or some group. Okay, that would be plural. Okay, so I hope that kind of establishes for you the concepts of first person, second person, third person, singular, and plural. Okay, so very often, okay, you're going to see me use in class a table that looks something like this. Okay, it's going to be 3 by 2. Okay, down the left side, I have first person, second person, and third person. Okay, and the table is divided singular and plural. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe jot this down, pause the video perhaps, and copy out this table in your notes. It's very important. Okay, first person, second person, third person, singular and plural. Okay. Now, our target on our lesson are the French subject pronouns. Okay, the French subject pronouns. So I didn't relabel, okay, the columns and the rows in this table here, but they're the same as the one I just showed you. Okay, first person, second person, third person, singular, and plural. Okay, so I do need to, before I introduce the pronouns themselves, talk about the subject pronoun. Simply put, the subject pronoun refers to the noun who is the author of the action of the verb. Okay, so if back to our speaker, okay, if he's talking about, for example, playing the guitar, it says I play guitar, I. Okay, so about the pronoun is the author of the action described by the verb. Who's playing the guitar? I am, or I do. Okay, all right. I'm talking about the grammatical subject is the person who does the action. Okay, it's very important also. Okay, so the subject pronouns, okay, these refer to the people or things that are doing the action described by the verb. Okay, the first person singular is je. First person plural, nous. Okay, second person singular, tu. Second person plural, vous. Now, third person singular have three forms: il, elle, and on. Third person plural, we have two forms: il, and elle. Okay? These are French subject pronouns. Okay? They refer to nouns which are the authors of the action described by the verb. Okay? Now, if I were to ask you now, what are the equivalent forms in English? If you followed along, I hope you could answer that. Think about it for a second. Pause the video if you need to. Okay? So I hope if you followed along, you realize that je is kind of like the equivalent of I in English. Nous, that's the equivalent of we. Tu and vous are both like you in English. Il is like he. Elle is like she. I'm actually going to say, I'll talk to you more about on later on. Okay? Il and elle. Okay, the equivalent of those in English is they. Okay? Il is masculine. Okay, a mixed group or a group of all boys, males. Okay. Elle is a group that's composed entirely of females. Okay, like I said, all male, all female. But if it's mixed, we put it in this category. We call it il. Okay. All right. So these are our French subject pronouns. Repeat with me: je, nous, tu, vous, il, elle, on, il, elle. And notice these two sound the same. Il. These two sound the same. Elle. Okay? Now, one last thing. The book doesn't actually point this out, but I tend to run into this when I let you guys, write on your own. Okay? In English, we can kind of pair up the subject pronouns. Okay, we can put them together, put them with proper nouns. For example, I could say, Bob and I play basketball together. Or you could say, Bob and I, comma, we play basketball together. Okay. The point is, you can put the subject pronouns, have a conjunction, and you can put a subject pronoun there. Okay. The point of that is, what I'm trying to point out now is, French, you can't quite do that. Okay. You actually have to use a different kind of pronoun if you're going to make a compound subject. Okay. You're going to say Bob and I. You can't use je here, like we have the I in English. You have to say Bob et moi. Bob et moi. And I like to put a comma, virgule, and use a compound subject. Bob et moi, comma, nous, yada yada yada. Okay. Another example, you could say in English, you and Susie sing well, for example. Okay, you and Susie sing well. You have to say in French, you can't use tu, for example. You can't say Susie et tu. You just can't do that. Okay, you have to use a different pronoun. You have to say Susie et toi, Susie et toi, and again I like to put a comma and then put the compound subject. Susie et toi, comma, vous chantez bien, for example. You sing well, okay? Vous chantez bien. And before I must let you go, we do need to point out the tu is always singular, you. Vous is often plural, but we can use this vous to be respectful towards somebody, okay? So this can be singular sometimes. But again, we're going to talk more about that in a future lesson, okay? So the point, and again, this is kind of bonus material, okay? When we're using a compound subject, you and I, he and I, she and I, okay? You and her, for example. Use what we call an emphatic or a stress pronoun in French, okay? And here are those forms. You just have to get those down. Again, this is kind of above and beyond, really, the minimum that we need to hit right now. But, if you're a high achiever, okay, you may enjoy getting this down right now. So, first person singular, moi. First person plural, nous. Second person singular, toi. Second plural, vous. Third singular, lui. Elle, and then soi, which probably don't need right now, but okay. Third person plural, eux and elle, okay. Eux and elle, okay. That's going to be it for lesson 9 right now, okay. Merci et au revoir.